Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2CTV, welcome to another live update and welcome to absolute chaos inside the Labour Party. More than 50 resignations inside the Labour Party so far. 50, 5-0, that's chaos. Let's talk about what's going on because the shenanigans of some of the local politicians as well as the centralised Labour Party over a few issues. One is Israel-Palestine, one is local corruptions, and of course, thirdly, is the centralisation of the Labour Party. You think the Tories are bad when it comes to centralisation? No. The Labour Party are becoming very dictatorial. Now, I could understand from their perspective because they promised we're going to get rid of the Corbynistas and the communists and all that. Didn't go too well, did it? So that plan is not working so far, but tonight we have some breaking news in regards to the mass resignations inside the Labour Party, especially over Israel-Palestine. As I said, the latest number that we now have is now 50 plus. 50 is the number of resignations. Tonight we had 10 new ones just now, half an hour ago, being added to it, including a council leader in Burnley. So, let's talk about this. It is interesting how... I'm going to come to the live chat, by the way, as usual, to get your reaction. It is interesting how they are already trying to spin the message, the Labour HQ, trying to shift the blame and say, well, actually, this has not really got to do with anything. It's nothing to do with the opposition against Starma. They actually really like Starma. They really like Israel. I'm like, sure, absolutely. I believe you. I believe you guys inside the Labour Party. Yeah, you're definitely not nutters. So we now have the leader of Burnley Council and 10 other politicians from Burnley and those areas resigning from the Labour Party, adding to the latest number, which is 50. We have to keep an eye on that number because I might have to actually start a spreadsheet because we had a basic list last week in terms of the resignations, but we now have also 10 shadow cabinet members who are a little bit iffy. You never know what's going to happen if they're gonna resign, let's just say. But one of the issues we have when it comes to the shadow cabinet is that there is, as I said, centralized pressure from Sue Gray. We're going to talk about Sue Gray. Do you remember her? Oh yeah, that credible, impartial civil servant who's now the chief of staff to Keir Starmer. So this is the Labour leader from Burnley who has resigned. Interesting enough, the spin doctors from Labour and the mainstream media are trying to downplay this, saying, well, these are just local councils and councillors. You do realise when it comes to British politics, local councils and councillors are more important than backbenchers. Nobody cares about MPs because they don't really have any power anyway. Controlling local councils and each area, that gives you a new level of power when it comes to a political party. That's why I keep trying to advise other smaller parties like Reform UK to actually aim for council elections first. So this is the council leader in Burnley who's resigned, Mr. Anwar. Afrasayeb Anwar says, it has become apparent that Keir Starmer and the leadership either cannot or will not heed our concerns or acknowledge the sentiments within our communities. In response to our calls for him to resign, he responded that the individual concerns of members are not his focus, further illustrating that he does not value the voice of the grassroots of the party. Wow, the dear party. So, this guy took away with him a number of others. That's obviously 10 councillors now from that area tonight, adding to the other 40, so it's about 50 plus now. Nobody cares if an MP resigns, apart from those who follow Westminster gossip politics. Unless the shadow cabinet minister, shadow cabinet ministers are more important. So you have shadow cabinet ministers in terms of the ranking of resignations. Shadow cabinet ministers here. Then you got council leaders and councillors. And then you have the actual local party chairman. And then you have backbenchers. If they resign, nothing changes in the country. Backbenchers don't really, especially if they are in a safe seat anyway. So this will change many things in terms of local politics, but doesn't really mean that this is going to put pressure on Starmer to resign either, because the Labour Party operates on a centralised manner, as I said earlier. So, especially with Sue Gray. We heard this earlier. So this is actually a quote from the Labour insiders, that Sue Gray has added a human element to Labour. They're kind of implying that Labour was not human before. Secondly, they said her style of leadership is inclusive. Her style of leadership. I thought, personally, that Keir Starmer was the leader of the Labour Party. How naive was I? So clearly, Sue Gray has been appointed as Chief of Staff to Starmer to actually run the Labour Party. They said she's the first person in, she's the last person to leave, and she talks to everyone, even the most junior person in the room. She's even tackled how some people treat the cleaners. You know, okay, I really appreciate this. I mean, objectively speaking, this is good management, right? But the effort that she's making inside the Labour HQ, that is a sort of effort a politician would make. Like, you know, Tony Blair going around, meeting everyone from the cleaners to the typewriters and everything else. Why does Sue Gray care that much? She's running the Labour Party. That's why. So everything's now become completely centralised. And now we also have the quick update going back to the Labour Party, obviously. 50 resignations, mass resignations over the last few days. That aside, the latest update that we now have from Gaza, officially, Gaza has now been split into two sections, which was expected. That was the point of the operation. And very quietly and quickly, Israel have split it from the northern side and the southern side, as you can see. So the yellow area, this is still from a couple of days ago. So the yellow area has now expanded towards the south a little bit. That's the operational areas. The blue areas, that's the IDF control areas for now. And there is now this massive debate. The IDF and Israel don't want to stay in there. They just want to wipe out Hamas and get out. As I said, they told Mahmoud Abbas and the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority, to take over. They are saying no. We know why they don't want to run Gaza. They don't want that trouble. And then also they want to use it as leverage. Americans are pressuring Israel to stay in Gaza. Israel do not want to stay in Gaza because that's also more trouble for Israel. Now we just had the director of CIA just landing in Israel tonight to have these discussions. But first things first, it does matter because they split Gaza so that civilians could actually go to the southern side for now. So they could focus on the northern side because all the tunnels and everything else in the hospitals, underneath hospitals, they are in the northern side, most of them, that they are using to target the Israeli border. So if they could go in and sort out the tunnels and wipe them out and close the tunnels, that's a good start. And now that they are doing a ground operation, hopefully that means that the collateral damage will be minimized. But again, you don't even have to support the strategy of Netanyahu or his cabinet. You don't even need to like Netanyahu's cabinet to be able to be against Hamas. People say, "Oh my, you're showing your bias. You've taken a side." What side? I'm against all governments. I'm a libertarian. You idiot. If you're saying you're taking a side, yes, I've taken a side of life and humanity against evil and barbarism. I've taken a side of Jewish people having a right to their country, and also have taken a side for the good civilians in Gaza that are oppressed by Hamas. Is that really rocket science? I haven't taken sides of Netanyahu's cabinet. I don't care about Netanyahu's cabinet. I don't even like our own government. So you don't have to take the side of government. You can just take the side of humanity and ordinary Jewish people who are not just being targeted in Israel, but across the whole world. And it's not just about the Jews. They are coming for everybody else as well. Christians and atheists and everybody else. And I don't know how many times we have to say this for people in the West to wake up. For the liberals who allowed this chaos to come into the West to wake up. For those a few, technically speaking, patriotic side or nationalist conservative side who hate the Jews and Israel so much, they are literally unintentionally defending Hamas. How long does it take for you guys to realize that Islamism is taken over? You literally had the march earlier tonight in Germany, again, in Essen. They were chanting and they were literally directly saying in their speeches that we will soon become the majority within the next couple of generations in Germany, and then we will abolish the German constitution and replace it with Sharia. I mean, they are literally saying it, but people, the liberals in the West, still don't believe it. Still saying, no, this is absolutely fine. Everything's absolutely fine. Sure, I believe you. This is the scene we just had last night. Was it last night? Yeah. They're attacking KFC. Oh, for those, if you did see the shorts that we uploaded earlier, I showed you guys the chaos. There was a speech in America as a student, like some out of touch, barbaric student, saying, listing all the companies that are in Israel, saying boycott, saying KFC, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and all this, right? Papa John's and Nike. And then she was literally wearing Nike's trainers. I'm like, the idiocy, using her iPhone to read the list. So now they're attacking KFC, but they call them peaceful protesters, by the way, largely peaceful, and they only care about innocent civilians in Gaza. Their problem is not businesses. Their problem is not random Jewish people or Christians. Definitely not. No, definitely not. Their problem is they really, really want to save innocent civilians' lives. I mean, how many times do we have to say that those people, the good people, especially those who were too young in 2006 to vote for Hamas, they are oppressed, yes, by Hamas. It's because they say it. It's not me guessing it. That's just how the situation is right now. And you expect this guy to feel the pressure to go either this way or that way. The guy is a fence sitter, and in this situation, he's trying to stay robust, but nobody trusts Starma. Nobody believes Starma. Michael, let's go to the live chat quickly. Get your reaction. Are you ready, guys? Michael says, as a gay man, I don't want Sharia in the UK. Nobody wants it. Even as a straight man, I don't want it. The damn police in this country need to get a grip. I mean, I did do the show earlier tonight on this channel. We talked about the police that admitted yesterday, on Saturday, that they were outnumbered and powerless. So what do we expect at this point? We need a proper deep reform in the system. Completely change the fundamental constitutions of the police service. Can we just change the police service into police force again? Because that's a good start. And language matters, genuinely. And actually learn from the European countries, some of them. You don't have to go full on crazy, but you need the police to actually be robust. And the police leadership need to go change it if they're not listening. MPs need to put in new legislation to reform the whole thing. But that's just the policing. We have other issues when it comes to culture and when it comes to national security as well. Paul says it is chaos. You're 100% correct for once. This is though because those on the left are generally more principled than the right-wing mafia. Starma is a stooge and fraud. Well, that's also a good point. I mean, in terms of the last bit, Starma being a fraud as well. Skippy Cameron, you do a great job, my man. Keep it up. Thank you very much. How dare you assume my gender, my man? Yes, tonight I self-identify as a man as well. Don't worry. All right. Who's one of the multimedia guys? Who's Jewish, ain't he? Or did I drink? That could be anybody. The largers in the media, guys. I seriously worried that a major incident is just around the corner in the country. Well, this is the issue. I mean, I really feel for the good people who are working at GCHQ and MI5 right now. Because firstly, the burden on them, considering the whole of the establishment is either going woke, so in terms of the new recruits from the MOD, Ministry of Defense, whether it's for armed forces, whether it's the Home Offices, MI5 and MI6 and all these guys, woke recruits, not really helping the situation. Politicians and leadership being completely, at best, complacent. At worst, their policies are complicit. They are making things harder for the few hard-working people in GCHQ and MI5. And then their work is also undermined because we had so many bad mistakes. I'm saying mistakes to give them the benefit of the doubt in the establishment over the last decade or so, a couple of decades, that the good people, the good police officers as well, the few good police officers, when we criticize the police, we are stereotyping the whole system. So I feel also for the few good officers who really just want to do a good job, but they can't, because that's the issue. They don't really have the power. Kai says the London mayor, Saad IQ Khan, needs a sacking immediately, and the policymakers as our refined police powers are not sure whether they should use the power given or sit on the bus. Oh, but that's actually a good point. So the video we did, that the police said we don't really have power, we are confused. That is also an issue because, yes, I know that legislation-wise we could change certain things, give the power and more clarity to the police. But most of it is actually clearly because of the leadership of the Met, for example, and people in the mid-management in terms of the command. Because some police officers know how to deal with certain protesters. Why is it that the others don't? Are they not getting briefed properly? Or are they choosing not to act? These are the questions we have to answer. Well, we have to ask and they have to get the answer. ASA, thank you so much for your super chat. I self-identify as a British shit. Yes, and I'm bloody proud of it. Brilliant. Well, welcome to tonight's live chat. I agree. Michael says decent police officers need to speak up and speak out. Actually, I did have one of our supporters who's a police officer, or was just a former police officer, contacting me a couple of days ago. I was supposed to talk to him actually today. I'm going to bring him on the channel and we're going to have a chat about what the police could do to change things and what the good police officers and former police officers could do to speak out to save our country. When we have these clowns in charge of our political parties, what do you expect? So quickly going back to this, it's chaos that is happening right now. The latest update is that the mass resignation inside the Labour Party has now reached 50 resignations at least inside the Labour Party. The latest was about an hour ago, which was the leader of Burnley Council and 10 other politicians resigning from the Labour Party. This is the statement that we had from Afrasayeb Anwar, the leader of the council in Burnley, saying, "It has become apparent that Keir Starma and the leadership either cannot or will not heed our concerns or acknowledge the sentiments within our communities. In response to our calls for him to resign, he responded that the individual concerns of members are not his focus, further illustrating that he does not value the voice of the grassroots of the party." All right, can I just say something? Devil's advocate, or actually advocate, for the next 30 seconds on behalf of Starma. Regardless of what you think of him or political leaders, or when they do a bad thing, whether they should resign or not, if a random Labour member, for example, tells Starma to resign over something, because of a position he's made, and then he said, well, Starma said, I don't want to resign, that's the worst thing he's done. Why do you expect him to actually resign just because you told him to resign? This makes no sense. How do these people? I mean, we can criticize Starmer and Rishi Sunak and all these guys. Yes, absolutely. But the problem goes deeper. These young idiots. He's not even young, but he's fresh. He's only been member for about 10 years. They said these guys, they're so amateurish. But if we ignore them now, I mean, it's just one example. I'm talking about all the others, the council leaders and all these guys, Labour and Tory and all the parties. We keep ignoring them when they don't have power, and then these people become MPs, become shadow ministers and government ministers, and then we wonder why the quality of MPs and politicians are so low. It's because they're all idiots, and we don't really pay attention to them when they don't have power. We need to shut them up before they get to power. And but the thing is, the Labour Party, as we said earlier, is not even run by Starmer, apparently. It's run by this woman, Sue Gray. Obviously, until half an hour ago, she was a civil servant, telling us that she's very, very impartial and professional. Not only she's now chief of staff, technically speaking, but apparently she's actually leading the party. This is the direct quote from Labour insiders, saying firstly, Sue Gray has added a human element to Labour, because they were not human apparently before Sue Gray. And then they said her style of leadership is inclusive. Why is she leader? How is she leader? Who voted for her? We thought we had the problem with Rishi Sunak not getting voted for by the Tory members. What is going on here? She's supposed to be chief of staff, not leading the whole office. They said she's the first person in, she's the last person to leave. Again, that should be Starmer, not her. And she talks to everyone, even the most junior person in the room. She's even tackled how some people treat the cleaners. What did she want? What is her agenda? Why is she trying so hard? Then again, you might say I'm exaggerating, or oh, she's just, she really cares about people, right? But not in politics. If she might care about people, but the effort she's putting in, she wants something. She clearly has some sort of agenda. Don't be surprised if 10 years from now, 5 years from now, she becomes the next Labour leader, or just skip the whole thing and become Prime Minister. Just give her a safe seat and she'll become Prime Minister. Let's not forget, these days, you don't really get Prime Ministers or party leaders based on experience or skills. It is simply based on either who you know or how you can stab someone in the back. Before, you had to be an MP, for example, for about 20, 30, 40 years to even think about going for leadership or Prime Minister. Do you know when Rishi Sunak became an MP? 2015. Yeah, it's not even 10 years. The guy's Prime Minister. I mean, he's mini Prime Minister, but he's still Prime Minister. It's embarrassing. So don't be surprised if in about 6-7 years, Sue Gray actually becomes directly and publicly Labour leader. Or Prime Minister, Labour Prime Minister. So I did talk about, let's go to a live chat quickly. I did talk about what's happened outside KFC, and also last night outside McDonald's, the Islamists were shouting at families who were in McDonald's because they don't like McDonald's. But they say they claim that their problem is only with the Israeli government. Don't know why they're attacking random London civilians and residents. And that's why I said on Twitter, and people kicked off when I said it, a couple of hours ago, I simply said on Twitter, we need mass deportations now. I mean, and it apparently sounds controversial, considering both the French government and the German government, their leaders said it. It's not just a rogue, crazy person in Hyde Park Corner saying it. They said it. And the French have already started, some of them, to do it. We have to. When I'm not going to say, well, anyone who's brown or anyone who's just protesting. No, just protest whatever you want. I don't care. Whatever you're going to do or say. You incite violence or you disrespect our liberal democracies and the right to free speech. And if you want to advocate for Sharia to be installed in this country, you need to go. If you are foreign. Not because if you're just... if your granddad was like already here, we can't really deport you. But if you are foreign, you don't have to stay here. And we have been polite until now. We've been polite because there have been no evidence, really, apart from obviously the grooming scandals and everything else. Talk about individuals. And we have had crime, but in terms of this level, we haven't had many people at once coming to central London every Saturday inciting violence. Now we have the evidence, right? So it's time to have a conversation saying, well, clearly integration hasn't worked. Clearly, if there are some of them foreign and actually not British citizens especially, why are they here? Before we used to say, well, we can't say deport them. So what we can say is, if you don't like this country, why are you living here? But at this point, national security matters. So don't go and say this about everybody who happens to be brown. You have to sort out those who are breaking the law. You have to sort out, and as I said, the right to protest is one thing. You can protest. Nobody said ban normal protests. We are saying inciting violence, and they do it every single Saturday. They have the chance. Then we are hearing it, and they target again KFC, McDonald's, and Waterloo stations and ordinary people, and the police are standing there. And then when we had Lawrence Fox and a couple of others who sent us the clips, obviously, filming yesterday, talking to the police officers right there, standing in a corner, the police were like, huh? What? Is that inciting violence? When they are saying intifada and also they did from the river to the sea? Yes, it is. You've seen the signs. You've seen the placards. What else do you need as evidence? But apparently Maya Tisi is politically incorrect. Oh, guess what? Maya Tisi doesn't care if you're a snowflake. Thank you so much, Asmalin89. Thank you so much for your super sticker support. And we also have one from Anne Barnes, £10. Thank you so much. Let's go back to you guys, and then I'll give you the update, the summary of all the chaos tonight. Also, I missed the live stream because yesterday, in case you haven't seen the videos. If you haven't seen the videos earlier today, then I'm going to deport you as well. Go watch it after this, obviously. But I did mention I wasn't available yesterday, and all I can say was it was for personal security reasons. and I couldn't even. I was supposed to go to the anti-Israel protests to report for you guys. Instead, I had to send some other people to give me videos. All I can say was things could have gone so badly yesterday, but luckily I'm safe and sound. I'm still alive. So that's why I was in hiding. Well, not voluntarily. I had to deal with some stuff. That's why I couldn't do videos. But I missed the live stream. I missed just sitting here. Also, we got a new light. Do you like that? Yeah. So we got basically the Union flag. We got the blue and red. And I was going to say white. That's not white. White in the middle. All right, let's go back to the live chat. K. Smith says, is Sunak deliberately not doing anything to create chaos, divide and conquer? No, because that's different. So there are certain tactics in life and in politics and historically. So, obvious tactics, divide and conquer. You got infiltration. You've got nation building. There are certain phrases that we use, but they're not always black and white, a blanket policy. Sometimes divide and conquer has worked. At times, it will backfire. So right now, the more chaos that we are seeing, they're more likely that Rishi Sunak will lose. You see the opinion polls over the last 3-4 weeks. Despite what Keir Starmer is going through, he's still going up. And Rishi is coming down because he's Prime Minister and all this chaos is happening under his nose. Liam says, Maya, did you see the video of the British Met Police commander leading from the river to the sea demonstration? I was shocked. Yeah, I did see that there was a police officer who was doing fist bumps to the protesters as well. That also reminds me, actually, before I do that, Martin 11, thank you so much, one of our regulars, for your super sticker support, saying keep it up. Some people messaged saying, you didn't go to the pro-Israel march, that rally at Parliament Square. I was very clear about my views. I have been to the previous pro-Israel rallies. I wanted to be there today. And they said previously to me, the organisers and everybody at the previous rallies, that they want media coverage. Obviously, they have to be secretive about the locations, but they will tell you where to go. They want media coverage because the mainstream media don't pay attention to them. And once again today, they didn't tell me about the plans. So if they don't want me to give them media coverage, I'm not going to randomly beg or give them random coverage. So if the organisers of the pro-Israeli rallies in London, the campaign against anti-Semitism and all the others, really want media coverage from the channel that's getting more views than the mainstream media, feel free to contact me and actually give me the intel. If you don't want me there, fine. So don't go around telling people, oh, we love my 2C and 2C TV and we wish he was always here to cover us. If you don't give me the information, I'm not going to be there. So that's where we are. That's why I wasn't there today. Jellytot says that you have more balls, Maya, than Mark Rowley. No, I can assure you I still have 2. I'm pretty sure he's got 2 other. What else do we have in the live chat? Oh, yeah, I need to see this. Rocketman said today they did a skit about Mr. Fafo in Israel. That is hilarious, from the same creator who laughed at the BBC. Oh, I'm going to go find this. and post it for you guys. So Mr. Fafo is the Mr. F around and find out. The guy who's... the BBC somehow ended up using his footage as a credible source yesterday. So we already reported that anyway. But it's funny. It's funny how the BBC would say, oops, we made a mistake. Are you telling me the people who work at the BBC, about 2 million of them, you know how many people they work there, they don't know who Mr. Fafo is at this point? If they don't know who he is, this Hamas crisis actor, then they should not be working at the BBC. So surely they know who he is. Surely they chose to put his content on BBC News, but yet no apologies. Absolutely no apologies. Matt says, unfortunately, the Labour Party will certainly be the next government and next Prime Minister. Boris bolds it up for the Tories. I mean, most of this will have to go on Boris Johnson in terms of responsibility, the mess we're in terms of the Tories losing government and also losing conservatism. But it goes beyond Boris. The whole Tory family, Tory party, Tory machine have been a complete mess for a long time. It's just showing it now. Stargrip says, the people of the UK don't deserve anything better than what they get. They are too interested in shopping, watching TV and other mind-numbing narcissistic crap. But they're also, I mean, there's a lot of problems in the Western cultures right now, which the liberalism, basic liberalism is a good idea, like liberation and freedom, individual liberty is fine. But social liberalism, the expansion of it, which basically has undermined simple conservative values of supporting your nation, being patriotic, believing in family values and your community and all this, that social liberalism increasing undermine not just those values, but most people's ability to do critical thinking. A lot of people are just basically just expecting things to be given to them, not just in terms of handouts, but in terms of information. A lot of people don't even want to think for themselves anymore. And again, this is the product of the culture, the system that's been created over the last few decades. So at this point, you can't even blame the individuals. I know we're all grown-up adults. You know, we still have self-determination. Make up your own mind, actually get out there, read a book, and do your own research. But in terms of psychologically, the West, you have everything ready, but it's not proper. So people will just go and swipe things on Twitter or on Instagram and read a headline or a meme, and that's their news source, instead of actually clicking on the link and reading it properly. This is why we are going down. Palestinians cruise. Oh, there we go. That went down. The lighting has completely collapsed. What's going on in this country? All right. Yeah, I know exactly what's happened. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to fix the lighting. I'm right here. Guess who's back? Back again. Oh, that was embarrassing. I know exactly what happened there. When you plug in random things to other things, this happens. All right, welcome back to the show. Let's give you the summary of what you have missed, and I'm going to go to the live chat again to get your reaction. So, first things first. We were talking about the mass resignation at Labour. That number has now reached at least 50. So that's great, isn't it? So earlier tonight, we had 10 or 11. If you count the council leader, the leader of the Burnley Council, and 10 politicians, that's 11, resigned from Labour. They're all kicking off. They don't like the fact that Starma didn't listen to them when they said resign. Someone just said smart meter, and the other one said top up your meter. Yeah, this is not the 80s anymore. So my lighting went out in case you just joined us. That was embarrassing, but it was because of the USB cable. It's fixed now. But the reaction we had from one of them, who's actually the leader of Burnley, who resigned, the idiot, Mr. Anwar, said, "It has become apparent that Keir Starmer and the leadership either cannot or will not heed our concerns or acknowledge the sentiments within our communities. In response to our calls for him to resign, he responded that the individual concerns of members are not his focus." Well, obviously, if an individual member tells me to resign, I'm not going to resign. That's not my concern. So Starmer's right. I know, I said that. And then he say, yeah, it's not his focus, further illustrating that he does not value the voice of the grassroots. That is also correct, because centralized politicians don't care about grassroots anyway. Doesn't mean this guy's right, but, you know, he's right. People are still talking about the lighting scandal during the live stream. Yeah, thank you. Electric bills, a bitch. Yeah. Anyway, we are back. So that's the latest from the Labour Party, and we also talked about Sue Gray. Apparently, she's running the Labour Party instead of Keir Starmer. But let's also focus on this, because IDF confirmed about an hour ago that they have officially split Gaza into two bits. You got the northern side and southern side, but they are still reluctant. They are refusing to take the responsibility to stay in Gaza after Hamas. They really want West Bank and Palestinian authorities to take over. They don't want it. Mahmoud Abbas doesn't want it. But the other issue is that the CIA director has now landed in Israel, and I believe it's just gone to Jerusalem. But Americans are trying to force Israel to take over Gaza. Don't do it, because there's going to be so much chaos there, and the Israelis don't want it anyway, because it's too much trouble. But at this point, if we are talking about the post-Hamas life, the issue that we have, how do you know it's post-Hamas? Considering how much brainwashing Hamas have done over the last decade or so, you got a lot of young people. They might not be official card-carrying members of Hamas, but they are so brainwashed. They've been going around, we've seen the videos, I've showed you the videos, even the school kids. They are so passionately angry and hateful. They hate not just the Jews, but also Christians. So there's a bit of a dilemma. Because, they haven't really done anything wrong yet, the kids. But they are very hateful already. So you have to get proper leadership to be there. And you can't really have Israel to be there because it's just going to fuel the chaos. You're going to have to get the Palestinian Authority or get Egypt to take over again. I know it's not going to happen. But somebody needs to sort out the Gaza Strip because it's not really going to be a safe place, even for the few good innocent Arabs, the civilians, who want to just live there like a normal person. So unless you're corrupt, you can't really live there in a free way. Okay. There's also this issue with the problem of the third world that's been imported. And as I keep saying regularly on this channel, you import the third world, you become the third world. Look at what's going on outside KFC. They are literally shouting at chicken. That's what they are doing. They are screaming at chicken. Yesterday they were shouting at burgers in McDonald's. These people are insane. And they keep telling us, oh no, we only have a problem with the Israeli government. We really, really like the civilians in Gaza. Interestingly enough, the people who go to these protests, and a lot of them are left-wing, like English, British people as well, who claim that, oh no, we really care about humanity and civilians. You know what? They have not said a word about what's going on in Pakistan. They have not said a word about the mass deportations, the issue between Afghanistan and Pakistan right now over the last couple of days. There are literally millions of people being sent back home, and they are being targeted by a lot of criminals around the border. Nobody cares about that. People on the left. There is literally still conflict in Yemen. Nobody cares about Yemen. There's literally issues everywhere. Civilians getting hurt or being oppressed. There are civilians in Iran being oppressed by the Islamic occupation. None of them care. None of them goes out to do a march for Iran, for example, or Yemen. Suddenly they care about Philistines. Why do they care about the Philistines? It's the historic brainwashing that you have to blame a group. And that group was the group that had the kingdom, the initial kingdom, the Jewish kingdom. But no. Forget about that. The land is called Palestine, and it was a real country. What country are you talking about? It was a tribe, part of either the British Empire or the Ottoman Empire, and before that it was chaos. You literally had the Egyptians importing people from the North Africa and the Middle East towards Gaza, saying, yeah, just go live there, the migrants, and say, so now you're Palestinian, so this is always your country. How does that work? It's like sending me and like my family to Canada, and after 10 years saying, yeah, this is your country now. This was always your country. And it was all called the Tutsi land, not even Canada. You need to take over from Justin Trudeau. The French Farmhouse Diaries says, I feel like chicken tonight. I am actually very tempted to order KFC just for that reason. They are literally shouting at chicken. Absolute insanity. Donald Trump 2024, he will end this war. At this point, imagine the duo. Imagine the chaos you're going to have with the Crown Prince in exile of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, who's going to be king, rightly so, with Netanyahu and Trump. And let's see how it goes in the Middle East. Because all he has to do, Trump, is bring back the Abraham Accords, continue the progress, get the Arab countries right now, the rich Arab countries, powerful ones, are refusing to help the Philistines. They don't want to do it. And but obviously diplomatically they have to issue statements every now and then saying Israel, do not target the civilians. Fair, which is also good advice. Don't target civilians, right? We get it. I get the advice. I mean, it's Hamas's fault for having the tunnels underneath hospitals, but I get it. But if he accelerates the Abraham Accords again, get all of them to befriend Israel as planned, and somehow the Islamic occupiers in Iran go away. Somehow, I don't know how that's going to happen, but let's just say, if Iran becomes free. And then you can have Iran and Israel as the historic allies to work together again, peace, and also promote liberal democracy in the Middle East. And then the Arabs, again, Saudi and Qatar, their culture is still relatively authoritarian, but the establishments in both Qatar and Saudi, we've seen so many times they've come to the West and say, we want to, for example, introduce a little bit more individual liberty, but we can't because our people still want to stone people. So, but that happens, that you can relatively slowly introduce progress by having stability in those countries instead of chaos, but also prosperity, spread prosperity, make people richer, working classes and the poor become more middle class, become more educated. This will take 50 years, but you can do it. It's already been happening in UAE, in Bahrain, in many places. So instead of going into those countries, do nation building or try to introduce democracy to them randomly, that doesn't work. You need to give them stability first, security, and then just allow them to get rich. And also don't allow whether Americans or the CCP in China to become the puppet masters. That's not a good idea either. Liam says, Maya, did you see the videos of the Palestinians parading their beheaded China? Yes, yeah, we saw the poor girl. There's been a lot of footage that there's a website that you can see the uncensored versions if you Google it. It's disgusting. But I think for the sake of humanity, those who can tolerate it, it's important to witness these things. What's going on? What is going on with this? There's a couple of random comments. I don't know if they're addressing me or each other. Paul says that this is what the French military warned the French government would happen over the two. I'm kind of fascinated by the reaction, the backlash when it comes to Islamism as a problem in the West over the last month or so. We've seen those Saturday protests in central London, in Berlin, in Paris, and many places, right? Have you noticed, you guys, there's not to say everything's fine here, but the level of aggressive extremism, even in terms of rhetoric during the protests, what we are hearing from these protests in Germany and France and Spain and Canada and America compared to London. We've seen some bad things in London. Oh yeah, they threw fireworks at the police. They keep chanting from the river to the sea. We've seen a couple of random stuff. But the stuff that consistently comes out of, again, Germany or France or other countries or Sweden, when it comes to these protests, they are extremely, very over the top with the rhetoric saying, we just need to destroy the Jews. They're not even talking about Netanyahu. So, not to say I'm grateful this country is much better, but imagine if we had that level of hate with our metropolitan police. Do you think that would have been an equal fight? The metropolitan police are already struggling with these spoiled middle class idiots going out there. See that Antifa, far left Antifa activist in central London last night, trying to support the Palestinian cause and covering his face. And he had a chat with some of the Muslim girls who were there for the Palestinian cause. The whole thing fell apart because the Antifa guy was saying, yeah, go, the gender lobby. Everybody could be different genders, right? And then the Muslims were like, what? No, get out. We want Sharia. We don't want the gender lobby. So the left or the basically anti-West side always end up eating itself. But it's time for us to be united. So when that happens, we don't get destroyed. That we are losing our countries, we are losing the West, we are losing the Western systems, cultural system, democracy and rule of law and the justice system. Everything that we had, everything that's created the current world is going to go away unless we do something about it. And one idea is to do mass deportations for foreign criminals and then shut down the border. Close the border, stop it for a while, sort out the deportation issue first. And if you have to leave ECHR, leave ECHR. If you have to rip apart the UN Refugee Convention and the Migration Pact, I don't care, do it. This is about national security over, the polite diplomacy, international affairs. What would Macron say? I don't give a S what Macron says or what Trudeau says. You need to protect your country because when it goes down, then they're going to ask for our help. Then the French will come and knock on our door saying, oh, oopsie, Our country is becoming Islamic. Can you help us? And unlike the 30s and 40s, we can't just say, yeah, we're going to come and save you, because we already have our problems here as well. The Canadians have problems. The Americans have their own problems. The Swedish, the Danish, basically anybody, everyone, apart from the Polish. Poland is fine. If you want to move there, move there. Carol, I agree with the sentiment. Stop the world. I want to get off. At this point, where do you want to go? You have to completely get off the world completely. Milford agrees. Yes, with capital letters. We are in George Orwell's 1984. We just didn't really think, we didn't really guess what sort of 1984 we were going to get to when that book came out. A lot of people were always afraid of our own democratically elected government becoming tyrannical. But that was never a biggest threat because of checks and balances. The threat of one world government, for example, and tyranny always comes from the original idea of one world government. What was the first idea, the first group of people that came up with the concept of one world government? It was a book in Saudi Arabia. And it was apparently written by a guy who was not literate. Muhammad. Yep. So that book and the followers of that book, Islam, that was the first original idea to do one world government. Also in a very aggressive way. So all these things about Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab, they're late to the game. The people from Saudi were doing it, Arabia were doing it way before. Chaotic Null, thank you so much for your £10 super chat support. It's going to be chaotic tomorrow as well, but it's going to be an interesting week for the next 5-6 days. We will stay safe, we will stay inside, but Saturday and Sunday, I can't do what I did yesterday. I can't, just for the sake of personal security, not be out there. Next Saturday and next Sunday, we're going to have a battle of Britain. Genuinely, it's going to be dangerous, but we have to be out there to report the truth. I cannot depend on BBC News or Sky News or all those guys to be out there. We are going to have the Remembrance Day on Saturday, 11th of November, being disrupted by these so-called largely peaceful protests. But that aside, they've also threatened, some of them, to disrupt Remembrance Sunday. You're going to get the Battle of Britain. And I'm going to be out there. And don't worry, we've got my vest now, so hopefully I'll stay safe. But I just want people to know, those who think this I'm their enemy or this is some sort of hateful thing against the civilians in Gaza. No, I haven't taken a side in terms of governments. I'm not in favour of any, I'm not on the side of any government, whether it's Rishi Sunak's government or Netanyahu's cabinet, or definitely Mahmoud Abbas. I'm simply in supporting people's right to exist and have a country. So that's the Jews and Israel. But also, I feel for the civilians in Gaza who are oppressed by Hamas. If these idiots in London who claim to care about the civilians in Gaza actually said that we are opposing Hamas and we will support the liberation of them from Hamas, then yeah, I'll support them too. But that's not what they're saying. They don't even care about civilians. They don't talk about civilians in Yemen. They don't talk about civilians in Iran. They don't talk about civilians in Afghanistan and Pakistan right now and the mass deportations there. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything. They have their own ideology. Evil and expansionist. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya 2C and we are the media.